I went into the Spider-Noir trailer with low expectations, not because of Nicolas Cage. I like Nicolas Cage. I am a proud enjoyer of the first Ghost Rider movie. Yes, partially because of Eva Mendes. I'm a critic, not a corpse. But Sony? Amazon? A live-action Spider-Man adjacent project from them in 2026? That is exactly the kind of sentence that makes me start emotionally preparing for disappointment before I even press play. Because on paper, this sounded like the sort of project that could easily become another dark, gritty, prestige-flavored superhero show where everyone whispers in underlit rooms, the color grade looks like seasonal depression, and the story is desperate to prove it is not for children. Basically, I expected True Detective with a spider hat. And look, maybe that version could work. Spider-Man Noir should have shadows. It should have crime. It should have moral decay. It should have corrupt men in smoky rooms saying things like, "The city doesn't sleep. It just bleeds." That's part of the appeal. But that was also my fear. Because modern superhero adaptations sometimes mistake darkness for depth. They drain the color, lower the voices, add cigarettes, cussing and trauma, and call it maturity. I didn't want a repeat of the Lanterns TV series. And Spider-Man, even in a darker genre, still needs something more than mood. Spider-Man needs heart. That's why this trailer surprised me. Not because I watched it and thought, oh, this is definitely going to be amazing. I am not there yet. Trailers lie. Studios lie. Sony Spider-Man adjacent projects have hurt people before, but the trailer did make me think, wait, there might actually be something here. And the thing that surprised me most was not the noir aesthetic. It was the hope, which is a weird thing to say about a Spider-Man noir trailer starring Nicolas Cage, but that's what got me. Underneath the shadows and detective flavor and old-school crime show packaging, there were little glimmers of a Spider-Man tone I genuinely miss. Not just superhero spectacle, not just quips, not just a guy in a suit doing cool things. I mean that specific, almost naive, almost corny belief that ordinary people can still be decent when it matters. That is what made the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films so special to me. When people on the bridge start throwing things at Green Goblin, in Spider-Man fighting for their home. When the train passengers in Spider-Man 2 gently put Peter's mask back on and promise not to tell anyone who he is. Those scenes are not cool in the modern ironic sense. They are sincere, painfully sincere, and that sincerity is exactly why they still work. Because the Raimi Spider-Man movies believed in people. They believed the city was not just a backdrop full of civilians waiting to be rescued. The city had a soul. The people mattered. New York mattered. And Spider-Man's heroism was not just that he could swing between buildings and punch villains. It was that his goodness made other people remember their own. That is the Spider-Man tone I love. And I did not expect to feel even a little bit of that from this trailer, but I did. Not a lot. Not enough for me to declare victory, but enough for me to notice. Enough to make me curious. And that is already more than I expected. The trailer did not look like a $1 billion movie. It looked like television. But not necessarily in a bad way. The effects looked better than I expected. The web swinging looked decent. It did not give me that bottom-tier CW backlot with a fog machine feeling, which was one of my fears. Actually, the scale kind of charmed me. It had a smaller, superhero TV feeling. Almost a little early Smallville energy. Not in the meteor freak of the week cheese way, though I do have affection for that era of television. More in the sense that it looked like a superhero story, working inside limitations, but maybe using those limitations as part of the personality. That matters, because not every superhero story needs to feel like the end of the multiverse. Sometimes smaller is better, sometimes a street, a room, a neighborhood, a single weird villain, and a man trying to decide if he still believes in doing the right thing can be more interesting than another sky portal. And weirdly, it also reminded me a little of Gotham, which, in my opinion, was the best CW superhero show since Smallville, despite not actually being on the CW. That show got so much better when it stopped pretending it was normal and fully embraced being pulpy, theatrical, comic book crime television. It was stylish. It was weird. It was heightened. It understood that comic book worlds do not always need to apologize for being comic book worlds. And this Spider-Noir trailer gave me a little of that feeling. New York noir, TV budget crime world, stylized shadows, potentially goofy, potentially sincere, maybe even charming. That combination interests me. Now I do have one immediate complaint. Not calling this Spider-Man noir feels like a disservice. I understand why studios do things like this. They get nervous, they want separation, they want legal clarity, they want brand flexibility, they want to imply Spider-Man without promising too much Spider-Man. But come on, it's Spider-Man Noir. That name is cooler, that name is clearer, that name has weight. Spider-Noir sounds like the title that survived 17 marketing meetings where someone asked, "Can we make this legally and emotionally less direct?" And maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe the title will grow on me. But right now, I think Spider-Man Noir is simply the stronger name. That said, the title is not enough to kill my interest. Because despite my skepticism, I walked away from the trailer more interested than I expected to be. And that matters. I have not read the Spider-Man Noir comics. My main exposure to the character is probably Spider-Man, Shattered Dimensions, which I believe is where I first really learned about him, and then of course the Spider-Verse films. So I am not coming at this as a Spider-Man Noir expert. I am coming at this as someone who loves Spider-Man, loves the Tobey/Raimi films, likes Nicolas Cage, and expected this trailer to make me roll my eyes. Instead, it made me think, I might watch this. That is a win, not a guarantee, not a full endorsement, not a declaration that Sony and Amazon have suddenly solved superhero television, but a win. Because most trailers for these kinds of projects do not give me hope anymore. They give me homework. They give me caution. They give me the feeling that I am about to spend 8 episodes waiting for the show to become the version of itself the trailer promised. But this one had a little pulse, a little personality, a little sincerity, a little of that old Spider-Man emotional architecture I miss. And that is why the Tobey comparison matters. Not because this looks exactly like those films. It doesn't. Not because Nicolas Cage is doing Tobey Maguire. He isn't. But because the trailer gave me a faint echo of something those movies understood. Spider-Man is not just about darkness. He is about light surviving inside darkness. Even in noir, that should matter. Especially in noir, that should matter. Because if the world is corrupt, cruel, and broken, then the choice to keep helping people becomes more meaningful, not less. That is the thing I hope this show understands. If Spider-Noir is just a dark detective superhero show, it might be fine. But if it is a dark detective superhero show that still believes in decency, then I'm listening. So no, I am not ready to say the show will be good. But I am ready to say the trailer worked on me. Against my better judgment. Against my Sony trauma. Against my fear of prestige superhero misery. It gave me hope. And as a Spider-Man fan, hope is a dangerous thing. Because hope is exactly how these studios get you. I've been Critic Dominus, and for the first time in a while, I'm actually curious about a live-action Sony Spider-Man project not set in the MCU.